Are we streaming? Let's see. Did we go live yet? Let's make sure we're going live here. Can you all see me? Let's see if we're going live yet. Yeah, we're starting to go live. Okay, great, guys. Here we go. All right. Didn't know how long this was on, and happy to be here. So let's get started. I'm going to try to be doing a lot more of these, guys, going live and just speaking with people. And you can write in the chat, by the way, and I'll be able to see this if you're live in the app. If you're on social, you got to actually write in the chat for the live so I can see what you all are saying. So just an FYI. I saw, a couple things happened that I thought were pretty important. I talked to, I saw a patient recently, a new patient, and this patient has been struggling with weight issues his entire life. He literally, honestly, I felt like I was talking to my brother, somebody who at 8 years old remembered sort of dreading Skins and Shirts. Skins and Shirts, if you don't know what that is, playing taking off their shirt in the playground, because he struggled with weight his whole life. And this person, every part of his body hurt. The joint hurts, every joint was hurting. He felt like complete lack of, complete fatigue. Every day was tough. And he had tried dieting so many times. He had tried dieting again and again. He's done low fat, he's done low carb, he's done ideal protein, he's done all the different diets. And, my heart went out to him. My heart went out to him. And one of the things that we were talking about was, hey, what do you think you need to do? And he said, well, I just have to try harder. I just have to, I have to do more. And I'm looking at this guy. This guy is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He is an accomplished person who gets up every day and is able to care for himself, care for his business, care for his family. I mean, this isn't somebody who lacks any discipline. And here he is saying to himself, I just need to do more. And, one thing that kind of pissed me off here, and I said, well, what do you think is the main culprit? And he goes, I must not want it enough. And I'm thinking to myself, well, he's saying he doesn't want it enough. Like, does that even make sense? Clearly he's investing time and money to be here in this moment. He's tried dieting. He's hired trainers. He's hired dietitians. That's not truthful. It's not a truthful statement. I don't want it enough. Maybe I don't want enough. Maybe I have to work harder. The guy works real hard. So it hit me that he fundamentally didn't have a problem following orders, following directions, having discipline. These weren't his issues, but that's what he was focusing on. He said, that must be my issue. So I asked him a simple question. I asked a very, very simple question, very direct question. And I said, why do you think you're failing? Why do you think you failed? You've tried diets so many times. You've lost weight so many times before. Why do you think you're failing? And he looked at me and he said, I don't know. I think I just have to do better. And it was almost like a reflexive statement. Like he didn't even think about what he has to do better. So we did a little thought experiment. And if you're like out there and you're struggling, right? We're talking about why people fail diets. If you're joining me from, within the Toward Health app, on social media, wherever you are, what we're talking, and you can write in the chat, by the way, and I'll see it. So if you chat this up, I'll be able to see, sort of what you're saying. So what we came to was he didn't know why he was failing. And his theory that he lacked discipline was complete nonsense. He had discipline in every other paradigm of his life. And his idea that he had to work harder didn't make sense because he works hard for everything in his life. So these were things that he was telling himself that really was just distracting him from what the issues were. So if you're joining me and you're like, okay, why am I failing at diets? Why do I fail at diets? You have to actually take this question very seriously. And I'm going to walk you through the heuristics I went with him. So you're going to get a source right now. Okay, you're going to get the information that I gave this Fortune 500 CEO, which is start with doing a self-audit. Do a self-audit. In the last month, how many days have you struggled with your food choices? Right, picking the foods that make you happy. I asked him flat out. I was like, just give me an estimate over the last year. How many days you struggled. And he said, I probably struggled 25 days out of 30. Right? And he said, if I had to guess, I'm struggling 250 days out of 350 or 365. So I said, okay, let's start there. So you have 250 days. So me telling you to have discipline, more discipline, me telling you to work harder, like you've been telling yourself, how many more days will that fix? How many days did you tell yourself that? And he basically said every single day he lived feeling like a failure, right? Because he felt like he needed more discipline and needed to, do better. So clearly it wasn't helping him, right? So I'm like, why are we even thinking this way? Why are we even considering that? And I said, let's go to the basics, the 5 musts that we do here in our office to help people understand what does it take to, make a lifestyle work forever, right? What does it take? What have we noticed? What are the 5 or 6 things we've noticed that every single person needs to do so they could conquer food and not do this ridiculous yo-yo cycle that keeps people trapped and feeling miserable, keeps Fortune 500 CEOs who are executing on every level feeling powerless. What are the 5 or 6 things they need to do? And I said, let's just go through them one by one. And this is the reality. If you tell yourself you're doing terrible, you need more discipline, you need to eat less, what was the first thing you do is you eat less. You restrict. Okay? And you need to understand this. 100% of people coming to my clinic have nutrient deficiencies. 100% have a vitamin deficiency, mineral deficiency, right? The potassium lows, the magnesium's low, the calcium's low, the folate's low, the B12 low, the vitamin C is low. They're all low. And they're eating a pitiful amount of protein, right? So the first thing that's going to happen when you're nutrient deplete and your insulin's through the roof and your blood sugar's doing a roller coaster all day is you're going to be starving. Your brain is on fire for food. You're going to be so hungry. You haven't seen nourishment, right? And you're going to restrict into that, which is what? You can guess it, write it in the chat. It's a setup to fail, right? So when you go to a doctor and you say, I need to be doing better, I need to be eating less, I should be losing weight, the first thing you're going to do when you're probably already nutrient deplete is eat less and restrict. What's the side effect of that? It's going to make you hungry, right? So if somebody who's helping you lose weight doesn't help you manage hunger, they're setting you up to fail, right? You've been set up to fail. And what's this Fortune 500 CEO going to do the minute he fails again because he didn't manage his hunger? He's going to blame himself, which hasn't helped him in the past year, right? So he's going to blame himself. He's going to say he needs more discipline when really the reality is he didn't manage his hunger. He doesn't know how to eat in a way that's nutritionally replete to actually replenish the nutrients and the minerals and the proteins that he needs and the healthy fats that he needs. So the first thing is you need to learn how to manage hunger. And I flat out asked him, if you could diet and not be hungry, how many days would you struggle with food choices? And he saw it and he thought about it. And he's like, look, I struggle 300 days right now in the year. And if you help me eat in a way that I'm going to be full and sated, I probably would struggle like once or twice a week. You'll go from 300 days of struggle down to maybe 100. Right? 100 days of struggle. I said, okay, we'll start there. The next thing I said is, okay, even if I manage your hunger, the reality is this: with any lifestyle, you're going to give up some junk, right? You're going to give up the chocolate, you're going to give up the cookie, the cracker, the ice cream, whatever it is, you're going to give that up. And when you remember what it was like to eat that junk, you're going to have something. What's that something called? You're going to feel something. You're going to want it. You're going to remember how good it was. You're going to have a craving. Right? So if you restrict your food, make yourself hungry, right? And don't manage cravings that you know you're going to have. Your food preferences haven't changed in your lifetime. You like pizza, you like lasagna, you like chocolate, you like ice cream, you like cookies, cake, candy, fried chicken, cheeseburgers, fried rice, the average popcorn, chips, French fries. This is what people eat and struggle with. Those food preferences aren't changing. You know you've struggled with them for your whole life. So if you don't address your cravings and you make yourself hungry, what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? And he sat down, and this Fortune 500 CEO who struggled his whole life with food said, I'm setting myself up to fail. Right? And I said, who are you going to blame? And he said, of course, I'm going to blame myself. I'm going to blame myself. It's my fault. I'm the one who got myself in this mess. But he's saying it, but it's a bit of lip service. So first thing, address hunger. We need to address hunger. That brought his days of struggle from 300 down to 100. Second, you have to address your cravings. What are you going to do when you want chocolate? What are you going to do when you want pizza? What are you going to do when you want ice cream? What are you going to do? And not planning for these is planning to fail. So I asked him, if I address your cravings and I address your hunger, how much do you struggle now? And of those 300 days where he struggled with food, he's like, maybe I'd struggle 50 days. 50 days in the year, I'd struggle with food maybe once a week. I said, okay, we can work with that. And then I said to him, okay, what else can we do to get that number lower and lower, the amount of days you struggle with food, right? I said, what is it going to feel like when Thanksgiving comes and everybody's eating pecan pie and apple pie and you want a bit of that pie? What's going to happen? You're going to have feelings of deprivation, right? And that's going to feel lousy. So if you don't manage feelings of deprivation, right? If I don't help you manage cravings, if I don't manage your hunger, what am I doing? And he agreed. I was setting him up to fail. So I want to talk about those three things so far: hunger, cravings, feelings of deprivation. I said, if I take care of those things, how much do you struggle? And he's like, now, he's like envisioning a world where there's not a lot of struggle. His food choices are easy, his lifestyle is easy. And I said, let me take it a step further. Let me help you manage where diets go to die. Where do diets go to die? Where is the diet graveyard, your lifestyle graveyard? Type it in the chat. Yeah, I'm seeing it here. Okay, you guys are right. It's the diet graveyard is holidays, vacations, business meetings, right? Going to seeing your buddies, right? Social scenarios. How many times have you gone on a holiday and your diet never recovered? You went on vacation and your diet never recovered, right? These are, areas where people struggle. So if I send you to go restrict your food and I make you hungry and I give you cravings and I make you feel deprived and I don't help you figure out what you're going to do at business meetings, birthday parties, holidays, and vacations, and how you're going to handle yourself when you get back, if I don't help you manage that social situation, what am I doing? I'm setting you up to fail. Right? I'm setting you up to fail. And one of the last things that's just as important, right? This hunger, cravings, feelings of deprivation, social situations that need to be managed so you don't fail another diet, right? It has to be emotional states. And somebody wrote it here. Food is a source of pleasure and coping. If you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're celebrating and, you want to share in a joy, if you're hanging out with buddies, if you're alone and pissed off, if you're in pain, food is a coping mechanism. And if I don't help you manage how your emotional states affect your relationship to food, if I don't manage these things, I'm setting you up to fail. Right? And the last thing is, are you able to recover ridiculously quickly? Are you able to make a mistake, not dwell on it, okay? Enjoy whatever mistake you made and move on and make sure the next meal is a ridiculously amazing meal, is a healthy meal that you're proud about, right? Can you make sure there is no off the wagon? Like, you enjoy the food you decide to eat, and then you immediately get back to a healthy diet? Can you reduce the suffering that prolongs people and keeps them off path for days and days on end? Can you recover immediately? So these are the 6 things I said. If I manage your hunger, if I manage your cravings, if I manage your feelings of deprivation, if I manage your social situations, if I manage, how you handle food in social situations, and how do you handle food in different emotional states that we know trigger people to eat. And if I help you recover, right, literally the minute you're human, you're going to make a mistake, you're going to get a flat tire, you're going to buy something you didn't want to, you're going to do something that's not ideal and doesn't fit your goals. But can you recover immediately, right, with little suffering, and immediately get back to eating the way that you're proud about, happy about? So if you do these 5 or 6 things, I asked him flat out, how much struggle do you have with food? And his answer was none. I have no struggle. I have no struggle, right? So notice how we didn't talk about ketones. We didn't talk about carbohydrates. We didn't talk about how many hours you're eating. We didn't talk about those things, and all those things are important. But the psychology of failing again and again in a diet and struggling lifelong is an immense task to overcome so that you don't fail again, right? You have to, when you're implementing a lifestyle of any kind, you have to be honest. You're going to be making yourself hungry. So you need to be able to manage hunger. You need to eat filling foods. You're going to get cravings. Those cravings are very predictable. 10 to 15 things you're going to crave. I listed them: pizza, chocolate, ice cream, cookies, cake, French fries, chips, cheeseburgers, fried chicken, fried rice, popcorn, right? It's the same for everybody. Same basic signal, okay? So you need to find a way to manage those cravings. And if you're on a ketogenic diet, it has to be in a low-carb way of approaching this, right? And we have to figure out what you're going to do. And you're going to feel deprived when the whole world's eating birthday cake and pizza, and you're not. You may have feelings of deprivation, and those will pass. But this is something you're going to have to figure out how to deal with. You're going to face social situations, okay? You're going to face social situations that are very difficult, right? Birthdays, holidays, right? Vacations, right? These are diet graveyards. Diets go to die at these places. Business meetings, gatherings, right? Your diet will suffer. Okay, how will you maintain your lifestyle through these situations, these social situations, and how will you handle yourself afterwards? Emotional states make you deviate. Sadness, happiness, depression, anxiety, chronic pain. All of these can affect, it's just celebrating. Happiness, all of these affect your relationship to food. So you have to be willing to acknowledge that and address it. And the last thing is that people who have had lifelong issues, they will delay recovery, right? They will not just eat something off plan and actually enjoy it and have a small amount. They will eat so fast, so quick, they'll feel intense shame, intense guilt, keep eating that way for days and delay recovery. And you cannot do this. You have to immediately go back to food choices that you're happy about, proud about. You have to reach past the shame, the guilt, all those things that make people bog down. So, Yeah, this was my, this is a Fortune 500 CEO I saw, and needed help. He needs help. We all need help, even Fortune 500 CEOs, politicians, their friends, family, they all need help, right? And these 5 or 6 things, these 5 musts need to be addressed, in my opinion, so you don't keep failing at diets. You must address hunger. You must address your cravings, your feelings of deprivation. Okay, you must address how you're going to handle social situations. You must address how you're going to handle your various emotional states. And you must recover immediately. Immediately. Enjoy the food. If you have a transgression, okay, big deal. You got a flat tire. So what? You fix the tire right now. Right? You don't shame and guilt yourself into a weekend off plan. The next meal is the most important meal if ever you deviate. Guys, thank you for joining in on YouTube. Thanks for joining in on Facebook and in the app, the Toward Health app. If you guys are out there and you don't know about the Toward Health app, you're finding this from social media, join the Toward Health app. And we have full curriculums there. It's free. It's a free download. And we have some small groups in the app that you can join, led by our amazing Amy Igas and Vic Basmajian. They're health coaches who've lost an insane amount of weight. I'm Dr. Tro Kalajian, and I am a board-certified internal medicine and obesity medicine doctor. I help people lose weight and reverse diabetes. I do it in individuals. We do it in the corporate setting. We help companies reverse their diabetes. We've published on this. It's my life's mission, and I'm happy that you guys are all joining me today. Hopefully these 5 musts help you or a family member who's out there struggling with weight issues and food issues. All right, guys, have a good one.